Unlike what the majority of people say on the internet, you're probably not going to make $100,000 from a business idea unless you understand this. You have a roughly 1 in 100 chance to turn your business idea that you have right now into a $100,000 a year business in year one. Now, if you stick with it and you keep working towards it and you keep learning, I would say now that your odds are going to jump up to 50 out of 100 by year 5. Now, the problem here is out of the 99 people that don't get the results that they want in year 1, 95 of them are not coming back to year 2. Only 4 out of the 99 are going to come back to year 2 and year 3 and year 4 and then into year 5, which is why most people will not be able to do it. If you want to turn your idea into a business or a side hustle that's paying you $100,000 a year, there are 7 skills that you're going to have to master. Number 1 is grit. Every single person has the potential to earn $100,000 a year, but most people don't have what it takes to actually get it. Grit is like resilience. It means you're going to keep coming back, you're going to keep trying, you're going to keep doing no matter how many times you get knocked down, no matter how many times you get punched in the face, and no matter how many times you fail. My first real exposure to entrepreneurship was when I was in college. I started an event planning company where I started by hosting parties. And when I was 18 or 17, I started knocking on doors of every single club, venue, bar, and restaurant on campus because I wanted to start hosting these parties because I don't drink, I don't party, but I needed something to do on Friday nights, so I wanted to start hosting the parties. And I remember the first party that I hosted, it was on my own. I had finally secured a deal with this venue. They weren't going to cost me anything. They just wanted 50% of the revenue that I was going to bring in through the door. And I put together the deal and I spent months promoting, telling everybody about this party. I was trying to get the word out as much as I could because I didn't have a lot of money to spend. So I was doing everything that I could by myself to get the word out. And then the day of the event, at 10 a.m. The party starts at 10 p.m. At 10 a.m., the DJ for the party calls me up and tells me that the club got shut down the night before because they were serving alcohol to underage people. Now I had spent months putting together this event. I had spent some money, and I didn't have a lot of money, on putting it all together, hiring the night people, and getting it all ready. And now I found out that I don't have a venue. So now I'm scrambling the day of. I'm trying to do everything that I can to find a new venue. I'm trying to put it all together. I found a restaurant that would let us host this party now at 10 p.m. that same day. I had to tell everybody about it, got the word out about it, but now we didn't have security. We didn't have somebody to manage the door, and I ended up losing money now because the restaurant that I was hosting the party at wanted me to pay for damages. So I remember there was a bank right next to the restaurant, and I had to go to the ATM and pretty much pull out all the cash that I had in the bank and give it to this restaurant because I felt bad and I wanted to give them the money for the damages. And now I had this big dream of hosting this party and having this nice event planning company and starting it with a bang, and it started with a bang from my bank account. I could have easily stopped there and said, this is not for me, I don't want to do this, it's too much stress, it's too much headache, I don't want to do this anymore, but I didn't. I kept going and I kept trying, and eventually in the next year or two I had contracts with the biggest clubs on campus to host their parties every single Thursday for their college night events, and then I had contracts with other clubs to do other monthly events there, and so we became a pretty well-known event planning company in the Southeast Michigan area, all because I didn't stop after the one time I got screwed over. When I started investing in real estate, I dealt with my own headaches over there because I didn't know what I was doing. I just started investing in real estate, and one of the first properties that I had invested in, I bought this property because my contractor told me it was going to be a great deal. What I didn't know at the time was the only reason why my contractor told me to buy the property was because he needed money and he wanted me to give him a job. So now I hired my contractor to do the work, he took the money and it ran away. This was the biggest nightmare of my life in real estate because then once I hired somebody else to start doing the work, we found out that there were so many problems with this property. The repairs cost more than what the property was worth, and I had spent so much money on the property, and it dealt with headache, with headache, with headache. But if I stopped after that deal, I wouldn't have kept going and bought more real estate and learned more and got into multifamily real estate and learned more about how to do that. You'll learn from your mistakes. You're going to get screwed over. People are going to take advantage of you. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to lose money. Things are going to go wrong. But you got to keep getting back up, and you got to keep going even when it looks like everything is going wrong. Even when you see your bank account get drained to negative numbers, you got to keep going because that's what every great person did. They got beat up and they kept going. Number 2 is risk management. When I turned 20, I got into sales. first I got my real estate salesperson's license, and then I got into wholesaling real estate, and a little bit into it, I started making pretty decent money. I was making a little bit over $10,000 a month as a salesperson while I was in college, and now I felt like I was rich because I was also doing my event planning business, I was working at weddings, and now I'm doing this real estate sales stuff, and I'm making great money. And in the sales business, it's all about how you look. It's all about what car you drive. It's all about what's on your wrist. It's all about the way you present yourself. And everybody here kept talking about the nice stuff that they had. And so I was thinking, all right, I make this good income. Now it's time for me to go out and buy this new BMW. And I was telling everybody about how I was going to go buy a BMW. But then I don't know what happened. But I started thinking about buying the BMW, and instead of buying the BMW, I decided to go out and buy another rental property. And that was the biggest turning point, because I started to see, oh, I can go out and buy these rental properties, and instead of paying for the car, I can have something that's paying me for owning it. I was making good money, but all of my friends were buying the nice cars. I was making good money, but my friends were going on vacations. I was making good money, but my friends were eating at the nice restaurants. I wasn't doing any of that. I refused to travel. I refused to go out and eat at restaurants because I don't want to spend that money, and I refused to spend money on anything unless it was paying me money. And the biggest pain for me was not having that car. I wanted that car so bad to look like I made it before I had actually made it. Because when you have the car, it gives you that sense of validation. And now on the other side, I realized, wow, you really want the things that you can't have. Because when you have to stretch yourself to buy it, you really want it. But when you can comfortably afford the car and it doesn't affect you, now buying the car doesn't really have that same meaning. It doesn't have the same purpose. It doesn't give you that same excitement because it's just another car. It doesn't matter. It's not like you have to go out of your way to look like you made it because you already made it. You're so comfortable and confident because you know where you are financially that the car doesn't provide any more validation for you. But when you're just trying to make it and you're barely getting by and you want to show that you're doing it, now is when buying that car gives you the most validation, and that is the worst time to be spending that money on your car. It's safe to have $10,000 in the bank. It looks nice to have the nice car. But if you really want to get the best returns, you got to take that money, and this is the risky part. You got to take that money and put it into something that can give you a better return. In the beginning for me, it was buying more real estate. This might be you going back into your business and hiring more staff, investing in more software, doing more things that can help you grow your income, but it comes with risk because there's a chance that it could fail. I talked about my worst real estate deal ever. I could have taken this money and invested into another crappy property that cost me more money. It's a risk. But this is where that risk management comes into play, where if you're not willing to take the risk, you're never going to see the upside either. Number 3 is discipline. There's always something going on. There's always going to be a bachelor party. Someone's always going to be getting married. There's always going to be a birthday party. There's always going to be a game to watch. There's always going to be something happening that is going to be a distraction for your time. And this is where you're going to have to decide what is worth the distraction for your time at a certain point in your life. And what I always tell people is when you're trying to get better financially, the best ROI that you can get is by canceling your Netflix subscription. Not because you're going to save $15 a month, but because you're going to save 2 hours a night where you're not binging Netflix, and you can use that time to learn. You can use that time to earn. You can use that time to spend more quality time with your family. You can use that time on your health. You can use that time in a way that's actually going to give you a return. And if you say, but Jaspreet, it's my way to relax. It's my way to kick back. There's other ways that you can do it that will also provide more productivity for you too. Relax by working on your business. Relax by researching business ideas. Relax by learning financial education. Do something that's going to provide more value for you than just killing brain cells. Now, if you're happy with where you are financially, go ahead. Spend the time on Netflix. But if you're trying to grow and you're trying to achieve more, stop killing that brain cells and do something that's going to produce more value for you, because right now there's 2 currencies that you have. It's your money and your time. And if you're trying to grow your income, you can either grow your income by investing more time or you can invest more money. If you don't have more money to invest, you got to invest more time. When I was in law school, I didn't want to be an attorney. I went there to make my parents happy, but I knew I still had to graduate law school and get the degree and do all of that. So I had to go to law school full time, but I knew I didn't want to work as an attorney. So at the same time, I was also working on my business full time. So I'm going to law school during the day. I'm working on my business in the mornings. I'm working on my business in the evenings. And then I had this random idea to start making YouTube videos. So now I'm working on my law school. I'm studying to pass my law school classes. I'm working on my business. And then I start making YouTube videos on top of that. And then I had the idea that I want to learn how to make better YouTube videos. So then I had the idea to go and enroll in an acting class, a night acting class. So now I'm in law school during the day. I'm working working on my business in the mornings. I'm working on my business in the evenings. I'm recording YouTube videos somewhere in between, and then I have a night acting class to do on top of that. If you want to see more success, you got to find the place, the time to do it, and that means you're going to have to make sacrifices on other things. Number 4 is delayed gratification, and most people think that the idea of delayed gratification is I'm not going to eat one marshmallow today, that way I can have 2 marshmallows in an hour. But the problem with that is that's not how it really works in real life, because in real life, the whole idea behind delayed gratification is I'm going to sacrifice a nice car now, so maybe I can have a nicer car in the future with no guarantees for the future, because now when you're taking this sacrifice that you're making today and you're using it to save more money, you're using it to invest more money, you're using it to build your business idea, there's a chance that you fail. There's a chance that you die before you get to achieve the nice stuff. There's a chance that it'll never happen. But there's also a chance that it will happen. And this is what makes that delayed gratification so hard, is because people get so caught up on the idea of what happens if I never get to achieve it. And if you get so hung up on that idea, you're never going to be able to make the sacrifices to actually achieve what you want. Because what happens if your business idea does work? What happens if you don't die tomorrow? What happens if your investments do generate a return? If they do, now not only can you have the nicer car, but you can also have more freedom and you can have more money to do whatever else you want. The reason why understanding this level of delayed gratification is so hard particularly is because we live in this microwave culture. When we want something, we want it now. If we want groceries, we want it delivered now. We want food, we want it delivered now. When we want something from Amazon, we want it delivered now. We don't like this idea of waiting for a return. We don't like this idea for waiting what we want because we're so accustomed to getting everything so quick. But when it comes to money and when it comes to wealth, it doesn't work that way. And when you're trying to find the shortcut, you end up undercutting yourself. Number 5 is capital allocation. And this is probably one of the most difficult things in business, especially as you get closer to the $100,000 mark and beyond to the $1 million mark. When you start making money, what do you do with it? If your business idea made $50,000, this is the profit that you have sitting in the bank right now, what do you do with this money? Are you going to take this $50,000 and use some of it to invest in more coaching and more classes and more consulting to learn how to grow the income? How much of this money are you going to take to invest in more ads and marketing? That way you can have more sales. How much of this money are you going to use for operations? Because now you want to hire more staff. You want to get more softwares. You want to get more systems to improve what you're doing or grow what you're doing. How much are you going to invest in actual growth of new products, of new ideas? And how much of this are you going to actually put out for yourself? Don't you want to buy a car? Don't you want to get nicer clothes? Don't you want to go on a vacation? You got 50 grand in the bank in your business. When do you start taking money out for yourself? And there's no right answer here. And this is where you're going to have to decide what's most important for your business right now. This is something that you're always going to want to be doing. Always investing in learning, always investing in growth, always investing in how you're going to get better. This is something that you always want to be doing. Investing in more operations, more ideas, more products. But you want to make sure you're doing it at the right time, because if you're still under the $100,000 mark, you probably don't want to be investing too much in growth yet. Once you get past $1 million, then this is something that you want to be thinking out. Now, operations, this can save you more time. This can allow you to be more efficient. This can allow you to be even better. And advertising, you can easily spend this $50,000 in advertising. When do you spend more money in advertising? Is it giving you a good ROI? And when do you actually pull out some money for yourself? This has got to be the last thing that you pay if you really want to scale and grow the income. And it sucks because you see the cash in your bank and then you keep spending it to grow. And eventually you're going to hit a point where you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to start paying myself. But you have to know when it's right, because you don't want to suffocate these other things which can actually give you a better ROI just so you can go on a nicer vacation. Now, we covered these types of things in Business Briefs, which is my free newsletter for entrepreneurs, where we break down what's happening in the latest business trends, the latest innovation trends. That way you can stay up to date on what's happening in the entrepreneur economy. If you haven't joined Business Briefs yet, it's completely free. I'll put the link to how you can join Business Briefs down in the description below. Number 6 is product innovation. And you have to be careful here if we're talking about making your first $100,000, because the last thing that you want to do is start creating multiple products before you're ready. So when I talk about product innovation, you have to talk about what is the product that you have that you're trying to sell. Is this something that people want? And the only way you're going to know that is by actually trying it. Now, you don't want to give up on this one idea and just start flip-flopping and creating new ideas before you actually have the time to nurture and try one idea. But the whole idea here is you have to figure out what is the product that your customers will want. What is the product that you're selling, and not innovate on creating a whole bunch of ideas before you're ready, because you want to spend all your time, effort, and focus on this one idea first until you can scale it to at least, at the very bare minimum, $100,000. Once you take it past 100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, that's when you can start innovating to create a second or a third line of products. But on the first line, what is this product that you're going to sell? And is this something that's innovative enough that people will be willing to pay for? This is something that you're not going to know until you try. Now, you can psych yourself out by coming up with a whole bunch of hurdles and problems with it. This is what a lot of people do, and this is what stops a lot of people from ever starting, which is why you want to start and then figure out if it works or not. But this is where understanding that you want to focus on one product, being willing to update the product, being willing to innovate on the product that you have. That way you can make it better and more refined, and not just spending all of your time trying to create the perfect product before you sell it. Because the one thing that you're going to realize, no matter who you are, is no matter what it is, it's not going to be perfect when you start. So you want to start sooner and then figure out what customers need, figure out what your customers want, and then readjust it and refine it. That way it is something that can provide more value to your customers. And number 7 is ignore the noise. Everybody's going to say that you're stupid. Everyone's going to say that you have a dumb idea. Everyone's going to wonder why you're doing it until you do it. And once you do it, they're all going to ask you, how did you do it? And this is where you have to be willing to ignore the noise, because everybody is going to have an opinion. Everybody's going to ask you questions. Everybody's going to be confused. And some people are going to be very critical of what you're doing. And if you want to be able to make it, you have to be willing to ignore the noise. Leave, go somewhere else, go into hiding, go into a cave, go into a basement, go somewhere where you can't keep being distracted by everybody's opinions, because everybody's going to have an opinion. And this is where either just get quiet about what you're doing and do it in silence, or do it with the confidence where whatever people are saying is not going to affect you. Because the biggest thing that kills more dreams than anything else is the sentence, what will other people think? And if you do what you do based off of what other people think, you are never going to achieve any sort of real success. And this is where you have to ignore that part or get away from it and then just focus on you and your business idea. Now, if the business owner made $1 million but had no other deductions, that was their profit, that's their taxable income, they're going to pay the same tax rate as the doctor, that $400,000 to $500,000 in taxes. However, you have the ability now to harvest debt that the doctor couldn't do. And this means that you'll have the ability to keep money in your bank